Director TK. So, TK, I'd like to come into maybe a bit of your history, right?
Alright.
Because your history is quite interesting. You've traveled a bit. You've really traveled, like, and maybe some people might ask where your accent comes from, you know? So, if you don't mind, who is Director TK? I really want to take it down. Who is Director TK? How did you get here?
First of all, thanks for having me. Um, and there were some great questions, by the way. I actually wanted to answer as well, but I'm a, I don't know, man. I really never know how to talk about myself. Um, Born Zimbabwean, migrated to England. Thereafter, I was into like music and stuff. I was producing stuff, and it was me and my partner at the time. I realized he was better than me at producing, and I thought, what can I do? I started learning videos, and that's pretty much that side of like, as far as entertainment is concerned, you get me? For someone like, actually grew up a village boy. You understand, I grew up a villager, and moving to England was a bit tough, but after, after a little while, I kind of like, I found that thing, and the uni dropout thing as well. Like I went to school, I realized, you know what, this isn't really gonna pay. I'm gonna walk away with £50 of debt, and it wasn't cutting it. So I had to do something, I had to convince my parents as well for a long time to say, no, this is what I'm gonna do. When you're coming from a village, it's very different. They're telling you, go to school. That's all. So for me to work through that was a bit difficult, but and then I'm glad I have my mom. I managed to speak to her, and then now we're here.
So, the reason why I wanted to share that history with people is that because you have a worldly view, if I want to put it out like that. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, from Zim, you grew up in the village, then you decided to go, or not decided, but you went into the first world, and now you consume content from their perspective, right? But now you also are that person who's worked with some heavy shots within our continent, Davido, Uber's Kids, Heavy K, those are big heavyweights, you know what I mean? So what would you say is the difference in the culture, having worked with these guys? So how does the difference in vision and culture from our side as the African perspective and from that side in terms of, England and what they showing there in programming, what would you say is the major difference between the two?
So the major difference in cultures between what we're projecting and what they're projecting.
Yeah.
Bro, I can't lie to you. It's a lot more artificial out there. There's nothing really organic. It's just very made up. It's plastic. You're making a city in LA, for example. It's LA, and you're building something that's not there. You're talking about aliens and all these things. We have authentic stories. I remember I was on Netflix, and I'm a person that's really never been into film, but I watched this movie from Malawi about a windmill boy that fell with the wind or something. It was at that moment, It was at that moment when I realized, you know what? We actually have authentic stories to tell that are very relevant, and that's the major difference. And that's why I've always pushed myself towards Africa. Like he said, it's home, but more so, there's still things, there's room for growth. And like he said, we're in our primes. We have a lot to give the world.
So we have a lot of story to tell, right? And the one thing that Tim was saying earlier on is that people are hungry for our stories. People are hungry for our content. Now, we need to be careful that we don't fall into the trap of giving away our content for free, to the point where we give away our culture, and then other people monetize that. It's a very serious thing that we have to be careful of. How would you advise, or how are you actually playing that game currently? How are you monetizing off your craft? How are you living off your craft? How are you securing your craft? How are you doing that currently?
Currently not making money, bro. Currently not making money.
Which is an important thing, because a lot of people want to know this.
I'm currently, for the past 2 years, I shot leg over at the beginning of 2017, and it was the biggest thing at the time. And I could have sort of gone into that and monetized on that and just build off that. But instead, I just took a step back. And I was like, I looked at my 10 years. I first looked at my 5 years, my 10 years. I was like, am I really trying to be about that? Like, am I really trying to be about that? And I realized, no, I'm not. And that's when I sort of flipped back and I tried to start spending more time here and in Zimbabwe. You know, things in Zimbabwe are a bit upside down. So that's why I'm a lot more here. And to be honest with you, it's only now, like in the past 2 months or so, because I also didn't go home for a while. I only went back home in February and I came back. It's only recently when I'm actually starting to realize that, no, like he was saying, we need to find a way to make money in this, in the sense of us creatives need to be at the forefront and everyone else follows through. That's the biggest problem. That's why we might end up selling out. Because I know people that are selling beats, for example, producers, for stupid amounts, bro. And what the people that they're selling to are doing with it is what you say, they're stealing our culture. It's ridiculous, but what can they do? They don't know how to generate money. So I think if we position ourselves in a way that we know how to make money, and that's what I've been trying to do, know how to make money first, then put the art second. It's a shame, but it's like you can't really be about the art if you don't have the P's. So you're gonna have to hustle up and like come up with the P's. And also, I was just talking to a friend of mine last night, and I was saying, look, as creatives, we need to unify a lot more, bro. Like, especially like around here. Do you understand? Yeah, that thing of unity is a blessing that, like, I feel like a God-given. I'm not too strong a Christian, but like believe in God and stuff. I believe that the moment, that light bulb that he's talking about in 2017, that was my, you know what, just open up to, like, come, mix up, like, do things. Anyone here can hit me up. Do you know what I mean? Just hit me up, let's all link up, let's create. Because the moment that we do that, we're creating dope stuff, demand is gonna come. The money will come. That's what it is. So create, and then the money will come. But you also need to be able to sustain, which is what he was saying, set up a business. You know what I mean? Something has to make you money as a creative. If we come together as a creative collective and say, look, I'm a director on this, how can we make money? Okay, cool. We can sell water to fund our creativity, because then nobody else is going to come and do that. No one, bruv. All these brands, they know once they open up to that, they're gone. They're not making money. They're going to put all their money into arts, and they don't want that. No one wants that.
So quick question, right? You've worked with, like I said, quite a number of heavyweights, right? How did that happen? You know, people like Davido, for example, and Wizkid, like, are you guys just homies, or how did you actually get to a point where you work with? I'm just curious, you know, like, how did you guys create?
In the sense of the fact that I could pick up my phone and call him, yeah, we are homies. But it was a lot different. I think I have this theory in my head where I feel like things change every 10 years. Like every 10 years, that's why they always tell you, well, what's your 5-year, 10-year plan? So I feel things change every 10 years. At the time that I was fortunate enough to be curious and get into videos, those boys were starting up, all of them. You name it. That time, Oliver Twist was big. Only the band was big. Wizkid was no one, you know what I mean? And I also linked up with my brother Sesson from Nigeria. And, you know, we chopped it up. And me and Ses are like family now. So he helped me also like just penetrate the Nigerian market, because I was editing for him. I was also helping him conceptualize. And that's just how that went, you know what I mean? All those boys, before they were someone, we all knew each other. So now that they are someone or whatever, I could still like just hit them up on a normal one.